Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Chelsea versus Luton. I want to talk a little bit about their squad, about how we're going to beat them, about how we're going to end up setting up. And I'm also going to be talking through my prediction. But first, let's do a very quick review of what went down against West Ham. Well, it was a bit of a rubbish game really, wasn't it? Like, we lost 3-1. It wasn't a very good performance at all. And I think my quick thoughts are this. I think we were boss in defence. Like Disasi, for example, I just thought he wasn't good enough. He didn't get close enough to Antonio. And I don't want to dwell on this too much, to be honest with you, because obviously it's his second game playing for Chelsea. But I just felt that he kind of let us down in the back there. But when we're talking about moments that decided the game, obviously the penalty was the key one. Enzo didn't sort it home when he should have. And obviously we go in at half-time 1-1. The game's very much open. But the mentality and the morale probably isn't the best going in. 2-1 after that and the game was pretty much dead. They go into a low block and we just can't break down low blocks. We need to train it. It's just not good enough from that perspective. And then what about the lineup, right? I was looking at it and there were a few players that I wasn't that happy with before the game. And I just was worried about how we were going to set up. Gallagher for me is not a DM and I think that experiment could just finish. I think we can move on from it. He's just not suited to that position. Let's get him further up the pitch. Let's get him in the area. Let's get him scoring goals. That's what he's really good at, right? And then Chilwell as well, another round peg in a square hole. He's not a left winger. And I want to see him more in his natural left-hand side position at the back. And he can bomb on and get in the penalty area. But let's see him in defence and let's see him do what he's best at, getting the ball, distributing it to other players and then bombing on and arriving late in the box rather than being an out-and-out winger. And let's not get on Poch's back too much. Like, he's the man to take us forward. He's going to bring us into the next stage of the Chelsea Football Club development. So I'm backing him. But then also, like, I'm looking at some of the sub. Caicedo comes on for Chilwell. Again, you're taking off the left back. You're bringing on Caicedo for his debut as a DM, relatively isolated in the centre, not necessarily having players like, you know, Gallagher and Enzo around him. And so I just thought that was a bit of a weird one. And I just don't want to see Colwill as an out-and-out left-back anymore. Like, let's get him in the centre. He's a big lad. He can play very adaptably as a sort of half left-back. But let's just see him as a centre-back now, you know? And then, you know, we ended up with players like Maatsen still on the bench. And it's just weird, isn't it? He played so well during pre-season and didn't come on. And I think finally what I'll say on this is we need so many of those injured players back. Broja, I think, would have come on and made a difference in this game. Reece James, I thought, again, could have made a real impact if he was playing. And more than anyone, and Kunku, like, he's going to be out for so long. But his close control in those areas between the defenders would have really been an asset for us and maybe would have been the player to turn the tide against West Ham. But look, let's not dwell too much on that. I know it was a rubbish performance, but we've got a big game against Luton, so let's get straight into that. So they're coming off a blank game week. They were meant to play against Burnley, weren't they, at home? Their ground isn't ready, so they didn't play that game. I always worry about teams that have a blank game week because they're going to be fit, ready. They've trained for us for 2 weeks. They know what the strengths and weaknesses are of us. And so they're going to look very good. And why will they look very good? Well, they're a big, strong and athletic team. And I still think that they're championship quality. But because they are so physical and because of the way they move the ball forward, which is ultimately very vertical, and they'll be playing balls through the lines and over the top of us and try and get us on the counter-attack and the transition, which we need to be really, really careful of here. Those high balls are what we need to really worry about because they've got two very, very big centre forwards that are going to be able to hold the ball up and distribute it to areas around them. And I think that's what I slightly worry, especially if we do go back to a more conventional back four. Those two centre forwards are going to occupy our two centre backs. And so we need to get bodies in and around them, like a Caicedo and potentially like a wing back, to make sure that we don't get bossed from those two centre forwards. So I think that's a key area to watch and probably their biggest strength in terms of their vertical passing and the way that their strikers can hold on to the ball and basically try and turn us and score. Look, they're going to sit back and absorb pressure. There's nothing to be ashamed of from that perspective with them. They know what their strengths are. They're going to sit back and wait for us to come onto them, and then they're going to try and exploit us on counter-attacks. So we've got to be ready for that. We've got to be ready for the transitional moments. We've got to get in and recover very quickly, and also trying to get the ball back very quickly from high up the pitch. And look, I'm very complimentary about them. I was lucky enough to see them in the playoff final. They are a good team, but as I say, they're not Premier League quality in terms of the acquisitions that they've made and the overall quality that they have. So we should be turning them apart here. I think the area that we got to target really is their wide centre-back area. That's where they've got the least amount of quality, I think. They've got Tom Lockyer in the middle, who was a quality player for them last year and is a decent player, right? But I think the two players around him are the two areas that we should really attack. But let's get into how I think we should set up to beat them? Well, we've got to be aggressive and attacking early. I felt that we gave West Ham too much credit in the last game. They came on to us straight away, starting from the very first whistle, and we basically let that happen, didn't we? We need to get attacking from the first moment, from the first whistle, especially at home. And we need to be targeting their defence. So I want quick passes to people like Jackson, and I want bodies in and around him, like a Sterling, like a Maatsen, for example, if he plays. And maybe even players like Enzo and Gallagher. I want to see them around Jackson, and I want to see them getting the balls that he holds up and being able to then ping a quick pass off and then get us in behind and get goals early. Because look, if we don't get goals early in this, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the team, and we need to just get at them. Look, I think an early goal changes this game and it could be a very high scoring match. But if we don't, then again, we're going to be under it, especially with the way that they're going to be playing with that lower block. So overall, I think we're going to end up playing with a 4-3-3, but that means that our wingers are going to have to be very, very high, wide-ish, but then also like being able to support Jackson. And then we need the 2 8s to be right in and high next to them. So we've got a very clear 5 attacking players. And one of those could actually end up being a wing back. And if we do end up doing that, then rather than having one of those high 8s, maybe what we do is we get Chilwell potentially on the left-hand side, bombing right up. The left winger then tucks in, who could be like a Sterling, for example, closer to Jackson. And then Gusto or someone at the right-back area, Disasi, for example, maybe, could then pull in and form that effective back three, which Poch seems to like. And if we have 3 players at the back, that means we can mark their 2 centre-forwards very effectively and basically take them out of the game. And if we do that, then Caicedo obviously needs to come back and mop the areas in behind. And I know that he's so good at doing that. So again, I can see a Caicedo sort of linking the defence and attack quite well. And let's hope that he has a better game than he did on his debut. I back it. Come on, first games are always difficult. And I really rate Caicedo. So speaking of Caicedo, I think the midfield is going to be the key area here. And we've got to wear them down, right? We've got to pass the ball very quickly. We've got to move it from side to side, move it vertically, and get them running around using the possession that we've had. And in the first 2 games, we've had a crazy amount of possession. So we really need to do that and wear them down. If we wear them down, by the end of the first half and the end of the second half, they're going to be absolutely knackered. And that's where we should be scoring goals. And the final thing I'll say is let's just play players in their natural positions. I want to see left backs at left back. I want to see wingers as wingers. I want to see midfielders as midfielders. And I want to see Conor Gallagher as a number 8 or a number 10 because he's not a DM. I keep saying it. I really want that experiment to end. But talking of natural positions, let's get into my team sheet. So I reckon this is how Poch is going to set up. I reckon Sanchez is going to be in goal. That's a no-brainer, isn't it? He is the out-and-out number 1. Gusto, for me, is going to end up playing at right back. Thiago Silva is going to sit next to him, which means Disasi, I think, can sit out this one and play on the bench at the start of the game. I want Thiago's experience and I want his nous and quality at the back. Colwell is going to sit alongside him, and then Chilwell, for me, is going to be the proper left back. And I want to see that as the back 4. Caicedo is going to sit in front of them. Enzo and Gallagher again are in front of them. And I want those 2 bombing on. I want them getting forward and back. Enzo should be the slightly deeper player. And then Gallagher can get in the number 10 position. That's the way that I would set up our middle 3. And then this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to play Ian Maatsen as a right winger. We saw him in pre-season and how good he was. And I think playing on the right-hand side as an inverted winger could be really exciting, especially when you think about Gusto bombing on, Chilwell bombing on from the left-hand side. Having 2 inverted wingers could actually work really well. So having Maatsen in there as that role, he could drift in, form an effective number 10. We could let our other players drift wide. I think that actually could work. Jackson's obviously the number 9. He starts up front for me. And then Sterling I would put on the left, which then allows him again to cut inside, be that inverted winger. And I want to see Sterling more in the 10 role and next to Jackson because he's got that close control. So we can bounce balls off Jackson and try and get him having shots in the area, which really he should score from. But what do you think? I think that's a slightly rogue team, especially with Maatsen and where he's playing. But ultimately, those are our best players. And we've got so many injuries, haven't we? I think that's our real opportunity to play. But let me know in the comments below what you think and how you would set up the team. And so if you've got this far and you're a big Chelsea fan and you want to support me, you can do so by going onto Aveste, the home of independent streetwear, my clothing brand. We've just dropped a brand new tee from 24/7 Clothing, a brand that I absolutely love, and it's this racing tee which got a beautiful graphic. Go and check it out using the link in the description below and let me know what you think of it. So finally, my prediction. I think last week I might have been a little bit too confident. Definitely bit me in the bum, didn't it? I predicted 3-0 against West Ham. It didn't go as planned. I am going to be slightly more realistic in this game. I think they've got opportunities and possibilities of scoring, especially with their power up front. So I'm going 2-1 Chelsea. We really need this win, don't we? And I think it does change the season's outlook. If we do get this win, we've got some good games coming up and positivity will be back. Right, look, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm ever the optimist, but I do feel that Chelsea are going to come good in this run of fixtures. So I'm going to leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching it. If you did enjoy this and you enjoy my content, please do subscribe. It means the absolute world to me. 1,600 people on the channel right now is absolutely immense, and I am so grateful for every single one of you for joining. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you again soon.